Josh Allen had a very strange 2023 season. There were some people, including myself, who were putting him in the MVP discussion, and yet there were also some people that were saying, this is proof he's not an elite quarterback. How did this happen? How do we have such a wide disparity between this? Well, I figured it'd make up for an interesting film study, so yeah, let's just get into it. Also, if you notice, my voice sounds a little bit odd, still feeling under the weather, unfortunately, but powering through here, let's just get into the film. So first, let's start off with something like this, just a simple play that I think is worth discussing when we talk about Josh Allen. I think that the main things people talk about with Allen are the explosive plays and the turnovers, which, I mean, for good reason. Like, those are two very notable aspects of his game. But, again, the majority of plays are not 50-yard bombs, and they are not turnovers. They're things like this. 3rd down and 4, you see it's Dalton Kincaid's route, actually, in a one-on-one matchup. Josh Allen is going to take the snap right here, and despite a blitz that was picked up pretty nicely by the Bills, you see him throw it right here, and there is certainly a window to make this throw. And this is one thing I think Allen does a really good job of, just consistently fit the ball through the tight window, right? Like, that's just something he's able to do pretty consistently. And as you see, that's what he does. And even calling that a tight window might be a bit extreme, but, it wasn't the most wide open window either. Again, just putting the ball in the right spot consistently. These are things that are very important for a quarterback to do at this level, and he is capable of doing. So there's that aspect, kind of the simple side of things. And I think it's worth mentioning with Allen, heading over to something like this, what's going to happen is that this is going to be a one-on-one matchup on the outside. And for me personally, I do kind of wonder how good this Bills how good could this Bills passing attack be if they had more depth at the receiving core? Granted, I kind of think, if anything, they've gotten worse with the loss of Stephon Diggs, although they have added pieces at the wide receiver position as well to try and be more complete there, like Curtis Samuel, like Marquez Valdez-Scantling. But on a play like this is that playoff game against the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's going to be Trent Sherfield who's running this key route, who isn't a bad receiver, but certainly not someone you're like trusting with your life in football games too frequently. But watch what happens. Again, Allen's going to take the snap. There is a blitz, but he says, hey, one-on-one matchup. I have a cannon for an arm. Let's see what can happen. Sure, makes sense. And there is a little bit of a window. It's going to be probably a tough throw, tough catch situation, but it's possible. Honestly, this throw was really good. It just wasn't quite able to be complete, and part of that was good defense, which the Chiefs did to everybody last year, right? But part of that, too, was, hey, you do wonder if this is a elite wide receiver or a just really good wide receiver, would that have changed things? Also, I feel like his rushing never really gets talked about as much as it should. Like, people talk about it, but usually kind of, like I said, the first two things you think of with Josh Allen are the turnovers and the 50-yard bombs. But his running is, like, really good and, one of the best in the league. And he can do stuff like this, where you see the concept on the screen. It's supposed to just kind of run right up the middle. However, when this play begins, right here, Allen is going to notice there is a Kansas City player who's doing a pretty good job of clogging up that middle area. Allen can't run there, or he could, maybe gain a yard or two, but that's not the ideal situation. You see him have the vision and have the quickness to get towards the outside and ends up getting into the end zone for a touchdown on a play that probably wasn't going to do that if it was just ran as designed. So it's not just that he's a big runner and a fast runner, he's a smart runner as well. But now let's go over here, because listen, I can show good play after good play, but the reality is we can't have the Josh Allen conversation without talking about these types of plays. And this, Monday night game really was the, maybe the worst game he's played since, he got good a few years ago. Like, this play, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. It's a cover 2 zone that the Jets are in. Allen is going to take the snap. He looks down the field, eventually fires while kind of under pressure a little bit. So maybe it would have been, looked better had he not been, under pressure. But still, there's 2 safeties deep there. I get that Diggs is trying to split the safeties, and there was a chance. But, really, there wasn't. This is just a bad decision by Allen. And because of that, it does result in an interception. That was one of 3 interceptions that Allen threw to Jordan Whitehead, actually, on that game, and was a big reason why they lost that game. So it's without a doubt fair to say these things do happen. But this chart to me is where things get really interesting. So you see his interceptions year in and year out. He had second most interceptions last year. He's actually weirdly never led the league in interceptions in these past. I'm using these 4 years because that's when he's been good. 2019, he wasn't what he is now, right? You see that 2020, he did a pretty good job at not throwing too many turnovers, but has been at the very best tied for third each of the last 3 seasons. Not ideal. But if you look at Pro Football Focus stat called turnover worthy play percentage, which is they essentially go through and look at how often are you putting the ball in harm's way. Taking if you throw directly to a defensive back and the defensive back drops it, that counts as a turnover worthy play, even if it doesn't count as an interception. It's a better stat to use than interceptions, even if it isn't perfect. And you see that his numbers there are nowhere near as bad. And again, keep in mind, first would be the highest turnover-worthy play percentage. So whoever's putting the ball in harm's way the most is first. He did have the 2020 season where he, was tied for 6th in turnover-worthy play percentage, but has been, 15th or better for each of the other 3 seasons. So this is a pretty clear counterpoint to the, well, yes, he throws a lot of interceptions. Well, there is an element of luck to interceptions, and I think it's fair to say he's had some bad luck. Now, is it fair to say that it's all luck? Well, I mean, maybe, but we don't know. And there could certainly be some reasons for this jump that are beyond just luck. For example, it's possible he happens to, when he has his turnover-worthy plays, they are more turnover-worthy, and they're easier for defensive backs to make the catch. Maybe his bad decision is worse than Patrick Mahomes' bad decision. So even though they might both get counted for a turnover-worthy play, over a large sample size, Allen creates more turnovers. I have no reason to believe that to be true. It's just a possibility. But I do think it is interesting, and I think it's fair to say that, the turnovers, in my opinion, it is something that is overblown a bit. And again, part of this could be a situation thing. As I said, I've kind of critiqued the Bills for not really getting wide receiver depth over the years, and again, now that they've lost receivers, it's not getting better because I didn't mention it, but they lost Gabe Davis too, which, however you feel about him, is still a loss. It still is, losing a player. So it's possible that, when Patrick Mahomes throws a turnover-worthy play in Travis Kelce's area, Kelce does a better job at least knocking the ball away, and maybe Khalil Shakir hasn't been as good at it. Again, I have no reason to believe that to be true, just speculation. But when I do go back and watch the tape, I just think that there's so much good stuff in his game that I think that I think that the criticism is a little bit silly. The reality is, we all know Mahomes is easily the best quarterback in football, and then I think there's a discussion for second between Allen, Burrow, and Lamar, in my opinion, and I think you could argue either of those 3 guys deserve it. That's kind of how I view it. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.